Thank you. Thank you. I think I got the good one. You can hear me. All right, good. Thank you. Thank you. It is a massive, massive honor to be standing here today as your mayoral candidate, and it is a privilege to be following Boris Johnson onto this stage today. He is a formidable campaigner, a force of nature, and he's been a superb mayor of London. Now, we're on the last lap, the last stretch in what has been an epic campaign. Just 26 days to go, and it all began the last time many of us in this room were gathering in Manchester, and a lot has changed since then. But one thing that hasn't changed is the madness that continues to consume the Labour Party. Now, we saw a glimpse of it outside the main hall in Manchester. I saw quite a lot of it because I made the mistake of booking a room outside of the main compound. It meant that I had to walk that gauntlet of hate, morning, noon, and night. Many of you shared the same experience, but it was worse for me, I have to tell you, because I made the mistake of booking two rooms. I had a room in the main hall, which was HQ for my fledgling campaign. And when the fire alarm went off at 4 o'clock in the morning in my own hotel, and I trudged out with all the other guests, I was spotted by the Daily Mail, Mail on Sunday, and they thought, party conference, they discovered a bed-hopping scandal. And it took me, it took my brilliant team running my campaign a few days to persuade them that it was all entirely innocent, and that Nick Dubois, my brilliant chairman, was in fact in the main hotel and that I wasn't with him. But that hostility, that anti-business, anti-Semitic, anti-everything aggression that underpins Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party and its offer to London and its offer to the UK, we cannot give that party the break that they're looking for on May the 5th. It is just so important that we pull together and get over the line on May the 5th for London and for the entire country. Now, I've been a campaigner all my life. As a child, a very little child, I used to sell golf balls to raise money for the brilliant Star and Garter charity for our injured former servicemen and women. As editor of The Ecologist magazine, I campaigned for the environment, I campaigned for consumers, I campaigned against corruption, and I stood for Parliament to change laws and to back my own home community. Now, I know my Labour rivals' pitch to voters is almost entirely based on background. You've heard it, I've heard it, almost every day for the last 250 days. And I cannot, I'm afraid, do that thing that politicians do of saying I'm the first in my family ever to consider standing for politics. My father was a French MEP. You may not know that. He was a French MEP. He also launched a political party here in the UK whose only purpose was to champion an EU referendum, which, thanks to our brilliant Prime Minister, who's joining us in a few minutes, we now have. My uncle, believe it or not, founded the Green Party. It was called the Ecology Party back then, but he founded it, and he founded it on the back of a camel in Bury St Edmunds. And I know, and he had a slogan on the side of his camel. I've got a picture of it in my office. Vote Goldsmith, no deserts in Suffolk. So they both, I think, achieved their aims, I think we can say. But I have never been prouder than in 2010 when my childhood home of Richmond Park and North Kingston backed me to represent them in Parliament. And since then, I have delivered for them, day in, day out. And at the last election, they backed me in return with the biggest increased majority, Boris, I'll correct you, the biggest increased majority of any sitting MP in the country. It's a wonderful brag. In politics, you have to boast. I apologize, but it's a great thing to say. And it matters. Trust matters in politics. The people who know me best gave me a thumbs up, a green light. And that is something that I hope the 8.5 million people in London, the 5.8 million voters of London, take note. I will do the same as your mayor. And it matters that London has the right mayor, someone who can hold government to account, but even more importantly, someone who can secure the best possible deal from government. Because London depends on government for its funding and for its powers. You cannot serve Londoners as mayor if you cannot, or in the case of Sadiq Khan, you will not even talk to government. It just does not work. Now, my action plan for Greater London will deliver more homes, better transport, safer streets and cleaner air. It is a plan to keep you safe, to help you get to work on time, to make London the greenest and cleanest city in the world. And it's a plan to fix housing so that Londoners earning an average income can get the keys to their first home. and it is all paid for without putting a penny on council tax. It depends on a strong economy delivered by this government, and it's delivered by working with and securing the best possible deal from this government. Now, the first priority for the next mayor, and my first priority if I'm elected on May the 5th, is to fix London's housing crisis. Now, I know we can deliver a hugely ambitious housing programme, homes Londoners can afford, built beautifully to enhance existing communities and without compromising our precious green spaces. I'll deliver 50,000 homes a year, and I'll do it by working with government to release the land that the government owns, brownfield tracts all over Greater London, and by investing in growing the transport network that will unlock that land. Schemes like the Sutton Tram Link, which will enable us to build 20,000 homes that otherwise will not be built. The overground extension to Barking, 26,000 homes which otherwise will not be built. Crossrail 2, the project has been begun already as a consequence of Boris working with the Chancellor. Crossrail 2 will deliver 200,000 homes that otherwise would not be built. And I will ensure that new homes built on publicly owned land are for Londoners. The second, I'll protect the transport budget so that we can boost the capacity and the reliability of our system, so that Londoners can get around, so that businesses can grow. I will keep London moving and growing by investing in TfL. We've already heard from Boris that Jeremy Corbyn's candidate will take £2 billion from that budget to pay for what is effectively a fantasy fares policy. And he says, when pressed by the newspapers and by the broadcasters, that he'll pay for it by sweating the assets. Now, that's the kind of thing that politicians say when they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. It's the kind of thing that David Brent says in The Office. I'm sure you've seen it. But I can tell you that when he talks about sweating the assets, he's talking about the bus that you couldn't get on because it was just too overcrowded. He's talking about missing the last train home because yet another signal failure. He's talking about yet another missed bedtime. So I will protect that budget so that the system can cope with ever-increasing demand. Third, I'll protect and enhance our precious living environment, cleaning up our air by investing in solar power and electric travel, ramping up Boris's cycling revolution, creating hundreds of new pocket parks right across London to green up our greyest areas. And fourth, I will keep our city safe. That is the first responsibility of the mayor. And with the threats we face today at an all-time high, it is an awesome responsibility. I will protect neighbourhood policing and officer numbers. I'll put 500 additional police on our tube, and I'll pay for that by clamping down on union perks. But most of all, I will back the brave men and women who put their lives on the line so regularly in order to keep us safe. London cannot afford to have a mayor who opposed stop and search, whose party leader thinks there's a problem with shooting terrorists in our streets, a mayor whose career before becoming an MP involved coaching people in how to sue our police. On this issue, above all other issues, there can be no ambiguity, there can be no looking both ways. But it's not all about the police. Yes, we need to do everything we can to catch the criminals and impose the toughest possible sentences, but we must also do everything we can to steer young Londoners away from crime, away from making the wrong decisions. And as a candidate in this campaign over the last 250 or so days, I have had the great privilege of meeting extraordinary organisations throughout Greater London who, on tiny budgets, steer hundreds of children away from making the wrong choices. I want to back them. And I want to make tackling violence against women and girls an absolute priority, building on the work of our brilliant Home Secretary, who's done more than anyone else in politics to prioritise and champion this issue. Now, every candidate, particularly 4 weeks or 3.5 weeks away from an election, will make promises. But politics is a world that is littered with broken promises. What matters in politics is delivery. And my record as a working MP shows that when I take a stand, I deliver. Someone's phone is ringing here. I don't want to, should I answer? It's Yevgeny. Oh, it's your phone. Here we are. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Here we are, Boris. Right. I'll pause for a few moments. I've got another one here as well.
backing you, it's all right.
Wonderful. And that is a huge relief. Thank you. I don't remember what I was saying here. My record. I was about to brag again about my record as a working MP, but I will skip that, and I will simply say and repeat and echo the words that Boris said before he stood down from the stage and got a very important call from Evgeny. There is a lot at stake in this election. If Sadiq Khan wins, we will have handed a £600 billion economy to the most anti-Labour party in my lifetime. A Labour party and a Labour candidate absolutely in the pocket, bought by the unions. And there is a really clear choice at this election. If you want to grow and improve our transport system, then back me. Sadiq Khan's fares policy will strip nearly £2 billion out of that budget. It will grind London to a standstill. If you want council tax frozen, then back me, because Khan, like Livingston before him, will whack it up to pay for his brash promises. We know that. If you want our green spaces protected, then back me, because Sadiq Khan will concrete over the lot of them. And if you want a mayor who will keep London safe, give the police the tools, the resources, the backing they need to keep us safe, then back me. That is the choice at this election. And it will come down to the wire. For Khan to win, it will take just 30,000 people who voted for Boris in the last election to change the way they vote. That's 1,000 per borough. So no matter where you live in London, every single vote in this election is going to count. Now, I love this city, its neighborhoods, its green spaces, its diversity, its dynamism, and I'm absolutely determined to protect it. And the potential is huge. The mayoralty, the post of the mayoralty is one of the few positions in politics where you can actually make stuff happen. And I'm excited about building those 50,000 homes, but without trampling on existing communities, without concreting over our green spaces. I'm excited about making London safer by backing those brilliant organizations that steer kids away from making the wrong decisions. And I'm excited about making London the greenest and cleanest city on earth without putting people out of business, without pushing noses out of joint. The choice is so clear in this election, and if you continue to back me, as so many of you have done over the last 250 days, if you continue to back me until May the 5th, I will make Greater London greater still. Thank you so much.